Hi, it's Kara here with Homeschool Iowa, and I am involved in homeschooling 3 out of my 4 kids, and all 4 of my kids have different assorted special needs. And so we've had a long journey. I have high schoolers, I have elementary, middle schooler, and so we've kind of gone over the scope here of different grades and ages on this journey too. So I am currently, like I said, doing 3 homeschooling right now with special needs, and I'm going to just share for a couple of minutes about, real briefly about our journey, but then also just some different pieces of curriculum that I found that have really helped me in teaching my kids with different needs. So we have been in the public school system. We've walked through the 504 and IEP journey with various kids, both getting IEPs, having effective IEPs. We battled with our district for quite a while on a couple of our different kids and getting their needs met, and finally just felt like it was not working, and we were basically kind of tired of dealing with it. So after educating myself on the different kinds of needs that my kids have, I basically just sought out different curriculums to kind of meet those needs. And then we just do everything here at home. So I IPI report, and at this point, a big reason for that is because after my journey, I found I had more knowledge than the educators at our school, and so I didn't really have a need to dual enroll because what I was doing here is basically what they were not willing to do there. And then we also have some outside specials that we do, and some different specialists that we work with for like OT and speech. So we have chosen to go completely outside of the school district to have our needs met. So I know different parents will be on kind of different points of their journey with all of that. So I recognize that, and then what I kind of like to do is help parents as they kind of work through that themselves and figure that out, but then also help point to different types of curriculums and things like that that can be helpful for your kids with different kinds of needs. So some of our needs here are learning disabilities, and one, kind of the big one, is dyslexia. So a lot of the curriculum I have for reading and spelling are geared towards those kinds of learners. So a couple of things I can share with you that I use for that. I have chosen to do all of the instruction myself. I know a lot of parents will also use a tutor to work through some of these types of programs, because it can be hard to teach your dyslexic kiddos, and I totally get that. But I've actually tutored in one of these programs, and so I'm pretty comfortable doing it with my own kids, and so that's what I've selected to do. So one big one that I use is called the Wilson Reading System, and this is an all-inclusive curriculum for reading and spelling. And so I do this with a couple of my kiddos, and there's a whole system that you purchase to go with Wilson. So with that, like I said, we cover reading and spelling. We go through all of the specific rules for teaching spelling, and it's all tied into reading. So everything gets taught at the same time. Along with that, I do Equipped for Reading Success by David Kilpatrick. And what this is this is a phonemic awareness program. So it deals only with the sounds. It's not phonic, so I'm not bringing in any type of letters to correspond to sounds. It's all just sounds. It's verbal exercises that I do with my kids. And phonemic awareness is the foundation of reading. So there's 5 components of reading. One of them is phonemic awareness, and that is what I would say most programs on the market are lacking. So even if you're using a program like All About Reading, All About Spelling, those don't go real in depth with phonemic awareness. Wilson doesn't go real in depth with phonemic awareness. Even Barton has a program that they do prior to Barton for kids who struggle with phonemic awareness. So I just encourage parents to make that a component of your reading instruction at home. So those are a couple for language. Here's another one. I use visualization skills for reading comprehension. If you have a kiddo that struggles with like maybe they're on the autism spectrum or they have nonverbal learning disability diagnosis, those kids, it can be real difficult on the comprehension piece. So even if they're hearing something read to them, they may struggle with getting kind of that mental picture in their head going as you're reading to them. And so comprehension can be a struggle. So this book kind of works through how to help build those skills so that when they are listening to something read or an audiobook, they can kind of work through that process and the comprehension piece. So dyslexics may struggle because they can't read the words and decode them. So that might be a struggle with comprehension. But kids who have like autism spectrum or nonverbal learning disability, they struggle with comprehension for the other reasons with language. So those are a couple of the language pieces. For math curriculum with my kids who also struggle with math, I use Christian Light Education, and this is a Christian company, and there's a little bit of Christian lingo kind of mixed in, but I think even if you're not a religious homeschooler, that you could use it for secular homeschooling and kind of skip through some of that if you want to. For me, I like this program because it's a spiral program, so there's a lot of review, but the program doesn't hold you up if you don't have certain skills mastered. So for example, on speed drills or math facts, some of my kids really struggle with the memorization piece of those. So in this kind of a math program, you don't stop learning other math concepts because you can't get the facts memorized. And so what I like about that is we can keep moving on and learning new math concepts, but they also still continue to bring in that fact review. And so even if it's not mastered, they keep working on it through the program, but then we also keep learning other pieces as well. And they have a lot of review built into the lessons. So the other piece is for some of my kiddos, memory. We can have some memory things going on. So for us, it's really good to do a lot of review. And this program really brings that in. It's also a fairly cheap program, so that's kind of another added benefit. And you can kind of go as fast or as slow as you want to. So the other thing, if you have a child with special needs, that you'll find is you can do a lot of modifications or accommodations in your homeschool. And so you can take a curriculum that isn't like geared towards special needs children, but you can modify it so that it does work with your kids. So for example, I really like Sunlight because they have so many awesome and amazing books as part of their program. However, my kids aren't necessarily going to be able to take the readers and go do them by themselves. So what we have a subscription to is a service called Learning Ally, and that has audiobooks that are recorded by humans that can be listened to. And the nice thing about that is you pay a yearly subscription fee for that. You do have to have a diagnosis of dyslexia in order to access that service. But they're also one that you can find on Homeschool Buyers Co-op. So you can get it for like $65 a year instead of $135 a lot of the time. So I encourage parents to check that out. But it's a way to access the material in a different way. So they can still get the content, they can still increase their vocabulary, their comprehension. That's still happening, but it's happening through a different way than them accessing it through iReading or decoding. So it's kind of figuring out your own individual kiddos, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and where might they need accommodations in their homeschool with you as parent. And so what I also encourage parents to do, especially homeschoolers, because you don't always have kind of that framework of where is my kid at versus where they kind of should be, so to speak. If you suspect that there are some issues going on, I always like to advise parents to get a Neuropsychological Evaluation so you can find out where, again, the skill deficits are and what you kind of need to target. So you can be buying and purchasing curriculums without necessarily knowing if that's the best fit for your kids. And so for me, it's really important for parents not to spend extra time and money. And so an evaluation like that really can provide a lot of information and then from that data, you can then start making informed curriculum decisions on what you want to use. And I say that because the goal for me is to get my kid able to do math, able to read. I want them functioning at the end of this in society. So whether that means you dual enroll and you get some help from the school, whether that means you're doing it all on your own, whether you're getting outside specialists to help and things like that, that's all kind of part of the, journey of homeschooling. So I'm always happy to answer questions on, whether it's working with the school and what to, kind of expect from them, or different curriculum questions and things like that too. I really, really like to help parents on that. So anyway, that's just kind of my perspective, why I'm homeschooling, and those are a few pieces of curriculum that I use, and obviously we do more than that, but those are just kind of some highlights and my thoughts and perspectives. So thanks. Bye.